Vouchers in DC show students receiving them are more satisfied and more likely to show up to class, but test score improvement, not so much. As far as reading and math testing, voucher students versus non-voucher students was relatively the same. However, when it came to satisfaction with school, voucher program students were 70% more likely to say they like school, whereas non-voucher students were only 60% likely to say that. And that translated to another important area: how often students skip school. Voucher program students were significantly more likely to not skip classes. It's a mixed bag evaluation for DC's federally funded school voucher program. Matt Gregory, WUSA 9.